During my time in Kot Lakhpat Jail, I spent a lot of time listening to the stories of new inmates. Everyone who ended up there had a story, and I made it a point to offer my support. Over time, I'd helped many get their bail secured, offering legal counsel from what I'd learned inside and outside the courtroom. For a lot of inmates, I became a lifeline in a place that suffocated hope. One day, a new batch of inmates arrived, and I spotted someone who instantly caught my eye. A short, stocky guy with a balding head and a mustache that made him look like one of the Stooges. With nothing better to do, I signaled him over, offering a listening ear and whatever help I could provide, but his response wasn't what I expected. "I don't need anything from you," he said with an air of overconfidence. "I'll be going home in a day or two." I couldn't help but chuckle. I'd heard that one before. "Buddy, everyone who's new says they'll be going home in a day or two, but it doesn't work like that. It's easier to come in here than it is to get out." He made a face, shrugged me off, and walked away. I let it slide, knowing that some people take longer to adjust to the harsh reality of jail. Still, I had a feeling he'd be back. Days passed, and I saw him again, still there, still stuck in the system. I called him over, thinking maybe now he was ready to talk. "Let me help you, brother. What's your case? What do you need?" But he rebuffed me once more. "I don't need your help. I'll be going home soon. It's just taking a few extra days." I started to realize that this guy wasn't ready to face the truth. So, I let him be. Some people only learn the hard way. Weeks turned into months, and he was still in jail, despite his constant claims of leaving soon. By this time, he'd heard about me, about how I'd helped many inmates and earned a certain level of influence within the prison. One day, he approached me, this time with a more respectful tone. He asked for help with something small, getting some tea, maybe keeping the guards off his back from charging too much in bribes. I obliged, no problem, but I asked again, "What's your case?" This time he was more polite but still distant. "Brother, it's nothing serious. I'll be going home shortly. No need to worry." I smirked as he walked away, thinking, "You're willing to use my help, but not willing to share your story." I chose to overlook it. I knew he'd come around eventually. Months passed. He was still there, still asking for favors. He never told me his story, and by now everyone in the jail was calling him Mr. Going Home. The name stuck, and even he seemed to find humor in it. But as time wore on, it became clear that the jail was getting to him. You could see it in his eyes, the suffocating weight of broken promises, his lawyers failing him at every turn. Jail was overpowering him. He was on the verge of losing his mind, the edge of insanity creeping closer every day. Jail does that to people if they don't have the mental fortitude. Then one afternoon, while I was sitting in the prison garden, soaking in the rare calm of the freshly mowed lawn, Mr. Going Home came to me, but this time he was in tears. He was breaking down, crying uncontrollably. "Bhaijan, I can't take it anymore," he cried, his voice breaking. "It's suffocating me. I need to go home." I gestured for him to sit beside me on the lawn and asked my handyval to bring us some tea. The toll of prison life was written all over him. This was what jail did to those without the mental strength to endure its relentless grind. As we sipped the tea in silence, he finally opened up. It was a petty case, Section 489F, a small bounce check of just 150,000 rupees. His lawyers had botched his entire case, getting his bail rejected at every turn, and now it was pending in the High Court. For such a small amount, the bail should have been secured in the lower courts within days. His lawyers had managed to screw it all up. "Brother," I said gently, "you need to restructure your case and change your lawyers immediately. If you don't, the High Court will likely reject your bail too. And if that happens, it'll be an even longer process." He stared at me, first with despondency, then with anger. "You don't know anything," he shouted. "My lawyers told me the bail will come through, and I'll be going home." I tried to reason with him, my tone firm but calm. "Listen, I know these 489F cases inside and out. Your case is insignificant. I've helped actual guilty people get out on bail with cases 1,000 times worse than yours. Cases worth millions. If you had listened to me from the start, you would have been home within 2 weeks." He wasn't ready to hear it. With a sudden burst of rage, he knocked over his cup of tea and shouted, "Shut up! You don't know anything, you're still in jail yourself, and you came here before me." With that, he stormed off, leaving me sitting there, shaking my head at the sad irony of it all. A week later, my bail finally came through. The day of my release was filled with farewells. Inmates and guards alike gathered to see me off. I was being released with VIP protocol, something my case handler had arranged, so I was leaving earlier than the usual release time. As I prepared to walk out, I spotted Mr. Going Home standing off to the side, a shadow of the man he once was. I walked over to him and handed him a small piece of paper with contact information. If you ever come to your senses, reach out. This is how you'll get out of here. He stared at the chit for a moment, then with trembling hands, tore it up and threw the pieces to the ground. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "I'll be going home!" his voice echoing off the prison walls. I walked away, leaving him behind in the place where time had already swallowed him whole. 2 years have passed since my release, and the last I heard, Mr. Going Home is still in Kot Lakhpat, shouting to anyone who'll listen that he's going home soon. The reason I'm telling this story is simple. Never take your case lightly. Jail is no joke. I've seen the strongest people crumble under its weight. If you ever find yourself in such a situation, don't rely on false hope. Seek proper legal counsel from multiple sources, and don't overlook the wisdom of those who've been through the system before you. Sometimes, the best advice comes from where you least expect it. Thank you for watching aikdastaan, where every tale is a testament to the human spirit and every voice resonates with the truth as they perceive it.